But this is a unique week for us because we are on the kind of the same schedule as a lot of people around the country where people are getting shut down. Last week, right after our Sunday live stream, we started getting the word that bars and restaurants were going to be shut down for on-premise consumption, which makes sense. That's where a lot of like glasses are touched and moved around and everything like that. And that's where a lot of people are getting together in close quarters, sitting at tables that other people have already sat at and touched. So the on-premise consumption was closed down this last week. Finally, our fan went off. I don't know if that sounds better to you, but that fan was really bugging me. But also throughout the week, we kind of got word that things are kind of growing a little bit with the COVID-19 spread and pandemic, and it looks like there might be an overall shutdown of all non-essential businesses tomorrow. We haven't gotten official word. There's nothing that's like in law just yet. I'm hoping to be able to stay open. We've been doing pretty good with homebrew supply sales and with to-go orders and stuff like that. So we've been staying afloat here, but it could get shut down tomorrow. So that would be rough. Hopefully there's some sort of government help with businesses like mine, like small businesses that are getting shut down. But yeah, so that's a little bit of news of what happened this last week. We really appreciated a lot of support. A lot of people have come in and bought to-go orders or like stocked up just because they know that this could be their last chance, number one, and then also that it's going to be hurting a little bit to not be able to sell beer on premise in-house. So the topic this week is going to be homebrewing through quarantine, because one thing that we did notice this last week was, besides people just trying to come in and support and buy stuff for that reason, a lot of people are coming in and stocking up just because they don't know if they're going to be in stuck in their house for a long time. So you gotta have your beer, wine, liquor, whatever it is. We actually have had a lot of distillers coming out pretty recently trying to stock up and on their things to make essential oils or gasoline, fuel, whatever they're trying to do. So a lot of people have been actually stocking up, and that's kind of what I've seen around from last week's live stream. A lot of people commenting on is that the homebrew supply stores in their area, or even them themselves, people in their local homebrew clubs, they're really getting going. And part of that is not only because you're shut through quarantine, but also I think because you actually have a little bit more time now that everything's closed down. You got nowhere else to go. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then I also want to kind of open the floor to everybody else to see what you would like to talk about. Whoa, distortion alert. What is distortion? Da-na-na. Does it get better? 7-Eleven is still open here in California for some reason. Huh. Does the distortion get better when I turn these knobs down? So I'm going to turn these down, see what happens there. You guys get to help me troubleshoot my new mixing board. All pubs, restaurants, gyms, etc. locked down in Northern Ireland with thousands of job losses. Scary times. Yeah, that is more echo. Let's see. Get the compression. I'm going to be playing with the audio while things are going on here. So I'm sorry for that for those of you who are tuning in and trying to get a lot of information. But yeah, Torsten says our homebrew supply stores in Vegas are very, very busy. Could probably stay open as a classify as an essential business. Yeah, that's what's looking like it's going to happen tomorrow. Is that the sounds like I'm in an echo chamber. Better. I'll turn these maybe more down then. Maybe that's what's doing it. These green knobs. So the more I turn those down, does that sound better? All right. Keep letting me know. Homebrew supply store is doing well, but I don't think that we will be categorized as in stop touching things. Sounds like Darth Vader. Ow. Turn it back up. I don't know what to do. All right, I'll leave it right there. I really need Ryan, our sound engineer. Darth Vader. All right, let me know if that sounds better. This might end up being a really short one if I have to do a lot of troubleshooting on the board, but workable, fine. That's what I like to hear. That's what we aim for. Passable. I'll get to listen to this on the outside and kind of trying to figure out what we're doing. I got quieter again. I guess you guys are also like 2 minutes behind, so I think I'm trying to like watch what's going on with you guys with the comments. The first correction was good. All right, I'm gonna give this a couple minutes and see how we're feeling. Anyways, so The thing that's going on here is we're going to be classified as or the businesses that are classified as essential won't have to shut down. That's going to be things like that you got to get your toilet paper. You sound okay. Problem is you're on delay, so our feedback is getting to you 10 seconds too late. That's like more like 2 minutes, but yeah. Good now. Okay, I haven't touched anything for a little while, so hopefully I've got it in a good setting. We'll see. But yeah, unfortunately, homebrewing and buying things to make your own booze at home is not classified as essential. So I haven't heard the latest on that. We're gonna get the official word tomorrow. But all that noise things kind of got me out of the loop. But other things in my personal world is that also all bars and restaurants, like I said before, all bars and restaurants are completely shut down right now. Any places that basically for social gathering purposes, any places that you would sit down and either eat or drink, those are no-goes. But to go currently is still viable, at least until the official shutdown of all non-essential businesses, which might happen tomorrow. But I have a bar downtown as well, and that has no shot at being to go because it's classified in a way that makes it so that we can't do growlers or anything like that. So that one is completely shut down, and we're not able to do any businesses. So have you guys heard anything on whether or not there's going to be some sort of government relief or I guess aid or maybe a mandate that we don't have to pay rent for a couple months? Because if so, that would be good information. Feel free to send it. Right? Yeah, it is. It is essential. And I do believe that homebrew supply stores should be essential. Open only to collect and to go. 3 hours a day, no cash, cards and online pre-orders only. That makes a lot of sense. We've been kind of trying to, we've been trying to get people to call in their recipes so that it's kind of minimal contact time when they come in. And unfortunately, we don't have a great option for delivery. I know a lot of people have asked us to be able to ship kits, and we can, especially if it's semi-local, but our shipping rates aren't good because we don't ship often enough to really have a big carrier here. So we don't have like an account with FedEx or an account with UPS that would make it so that we can go ahead and ship things further out. And if we did it, I think the minimum shipping that I've seen for something like, a couple states away is around $12, and that's with USPS, like if it fits, it ships, the all-in-one thing. Homebrew supply stores. Heard something about rent and mortgage for California. With California being completely shut down, I think that I'm hoping that they're, we kind of seem to be following suit with what California does. California went into a pseudo quarantine pretty recently, and everything seems to be a few steps behind with Washington. So with our complete shutdown of businesses, I think that hopefully will follow suit with California and do some sort of relief, or at least something that makes it so that we don't have to pay rent or have some sort of like a delay on rent or something like that. Because really, honestly, if we have to pay rent for more than a couple months without making any money, I don't think we would make it. That's kind of a lot for us right now with everything that we had to put into getting this place open. Can you make sanitizer? I can, but technically that would be distilling, and I don't have a license to distill. And that would also be if you counted alcohol as a sanitizer, which I do. So it for sure is. Jersey and New York made executive changes to licensing to allow growlers and takeouts for breweries even if they didn't have it. Not sure if the non-essential rule has changed that. So in Washington, we did actually get some sort of leniency with curbside pickup for restaurants that had a to-go option, but restaurants that didn't have a to-go option, like my bar downtown, it's classified as a nightclub, so it's all on premise and it's all about kind of that late night gathering space. Has 0 to-go options. You can't do growlers there, you can't do anything like that. And so we even called the Liquor Control Board to say, hey, during this time, can we maybe just shift our business around a little bit? Obviously, we're not going to be doing the nightclub thing, so can we get some sort of way that we can go ahead and package up some growlers to go or start doing growlers at least temporarily, but they wouldn't budge on that law at all. And I know that their hands are kind of tied, like they have to go by the letter of the law. So there's really not a lot that they can do to give some sort of leniency. But it seems like starting tomorrow that might not matter anyway if everything gets shut down, because then obviously if no businesses are open, then nobody can do that to go. Stimulus package is getting rolled out, unfortunately. Displayed socialist style program. Hopefully you guys get support you need. I'm hoping we get support we need to. That's all I can say. It does help if people, keep watching the YouTube channel, and that kind of will jump into something that I want to talk about here. Is if we do get completely shut down tomorrow, a lot of our focus might go to doing more YouTube stuff and more online stuff. But we got to figure out a situation or a system to make it make sense where we can switch between content that's more educational and then content that takes a lot to produce and develop. That's going to be the style of stuff that's like grain to glass, where we have to film a whole brew day. And, like our challenge one, we have our second challenge video is almost ready. We just need to basically do the finalized tasting and everything like that, and then put it all up. So that one actually might be coming out this week. But if you guys have any ideas on things we can do, I know a lot of people are doing like weekly happy hour kind of things, where from isolation from your own space, you're able to basically sit and have a drink with me, and Logan or Tim or whoever can be here for that, and then we get to talk about what we're drinking, and pretty much it's just like going to a bar, except for not from the safety of your own home. So that's kind of a thought that I've had rolling around. We've also thought about doing some other live streams where we try to do, like one idea was we do a blind tasting where Tim or Logan brings in a beer, and one of us has to blind taste that beer and then try to, first of all, guess what style it is, and then second of all, do up a clone recipe before actually knowing what the beer is. So that would be kind of a fun little option for us if we did that on live stream. But yeah, we're going to try, if we do get completely shut down, this is pretty much our only way to get any sort of revenue or marketing out. So if you guys got ideas, let us know. Not starting a tirade. More Beer says they're still shipping, but the draft tower I ordered 2 days ago still hasn't shipped. Was it the Comos ones? I've noticed so we actually have More Beer, their wholesaler, as a supplier, and their Comos kegerators have been going like really, really fast. So a couple of their California warehouse, I think, is completely sold out of their kegerators. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because we've actually been selling a lot of kegerators too, which is another thing that's been happening, I think, probably because of the lockdown, the quarantine everyone has. They're like, let's go ahead and get a kegerator and have some draft beer at home, which has been good for us, because selling kegerators, is a good way to make a big sale pretty fast. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if More Beer is having some sort of delay, or at least a shortage on some of their stuff, and it might have to do with whether or not they're shipping out of the I think it's Illinois, Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania warehouse or the California warehouse. High probability that martial law and National Guard out here in SoCal. National Guard is in place. HP, LBC, and Westminster. They already created a MASH unit out here. I actually don't know what that means. Distilleries make sanitizer. Home distilling, is that something that you guys have thought about? And is that something you guys would be interested in if we did anything on home distilling? It's technically illegal in the United States, but at the same time, there's a lot of ways we can kind of cover it without actually doing home distilling. And there is a lot of ways in the United States you can get stuff to distill at home. For example, Mile High and Brew House also, they sell a lot of distilling stuff. And a lot of people locally will actually make stills. I know we have a handful of people, even a distillery locally, that did distilling lessons and also manufactured stills to sell to people. Just tell us how we can help. How you can help us during this time is just watch our videos and like and subscribe, and tell your friends to like our videos. We do get some ad revenue, so that does help from videos, but obviously it's not enough to cover rent. It's just enough to hopefully fund future videos. But yeah, myth videos, let's do that. Love the blind taste idea. Local brewery closed to the public, but they're delivery for free. We actually have some local people doing delivery. Beer delivery is only recently pseudo legal in Washington, which is where the state that I'm in. But the only caveat with that, and the reason that we can't do delivery, although we would love to, is because it has to be like a prepackaged thing, meaning any beers that you do deliver, they have to be the kind of beers that you would sell in stores. They have to have what's called federal label approval from Colas Online, and to have that label approval takes 3 to 4 months to get in, depending on the back and forth. And I'm sure with the federal government the way it is right now, it's going to take maybe even longer. There's probably delays, but yeah, so we can't do delivery. But there are some other local breweries that are doing delivery as an option to kind of get some more beer out there. And that'd be super fun for us. The only thing with us not having label approval is we brew different beers all the time. So we don't have like a mainstay one style of beer that we brew back to back, which makes it really hard to get label approval. Brewdog has started marketing hand sanitizer. Yeah, it is Comos. Yeah, so let me know on the if you guys have any ideas of what you'd like to see on other live streams. I know you guys a lot of times tune in so you can ask questions and tune in so we can go over whatever our topics of the day are. But if you have any live streams, the website is a bit wonky. Pretty much only can see the homepage. I can look into doing the website a little bit later. But what's yeah, with these live streams, let me know what you guys tune in for. I feel like I don't get a ton of the back and forth, so I don't exactly know what your favorite part about the live stream is. Is it just being able to ask questions and talk to us? Ship out beer as yeast samples. That is the best way to ship out beer. If you actually declare, I just live yeast sample. Oh, for us, yeah. I don't want to get in trouble, so I can't do that. A one-on-one brew lesson, live chat, pay per hour. I could totally be a cam girl for that. But I do like that idea though, doing some sort of a brew lesson. I don't know about one-on-one, but at least like small group brew lessons. The thing is, a lot of times we don't like to do a lot of pay per watch or pay like for you to watch us. We like to just put out our content. And then try to get it out to as much people as possible. But if we have nothing else to do, that's actually not a bad idea. I'd have to conceptualize how that would work though, doing a kind of a pay for a one-on-one brew lesson. Anyways, let's move on for a little bit and go into our style of the week. This is kind of late for a style of the week, but I'm going to go ahead and see if I can pull up on the BJCP. Sprague beer. Oh, that might not let me. So Sprague beer is going to be the style of the week. It is a style that basically Tim and Logan have been obsessed with for the last, year and a half. But I keep kind of turning them down on making Sprague beers. We've probably done one in the last year, and it ended up being an Imperial Sprague beer. But the only reason that I don't like the idea of doing a Sprague beer is because it's a great beer, but it's a beer that does not sell very well to the mass public, just because the mass public does not necessarily know what a Sprague beer is. But basically what a Sprague beer is it's a beer designed to taste like a light lager and have a dark beer kind of flavor. So the malt of the week that I'd like to throw in as my recommendation using with a Sprague beer is Black Prince malt. It is an American-made de-bittered dark malt, and as such, it can give you a lot of that same dark flavors, but you don't have to use a ton of it to get a lot of great color behind it, so you can get an overall lighter profile. So Sprague beers, I don't have a hop of the week for Sprague beers because I don't think hops really matter. You can use anything London or UK. And then yeast of the week, I'm going to say Urquell. By the way, I just made all that up on the spot. Urquell is really nice for this style though, because it has a subtle minerality and it can produce slight sulfur notes, but those can also off-gas too if you CO2 them out of the beer. Urquell is a style of yeast from Imperial, Urkel, but they also have a White Labs and a Y yeast version. The Y yeast version I think is seasonal now, or was discontinued. It's 2001 Urquell. So yeah, got beer of the week out of the way. Wanted to make sure I didn't forget that before we got too far in. And there's more questions. Website is a bit wonky. And somebody asked about the shirts. I did put the shirts up on the website. I'll have to double check to see why the website's being wonky right now. But there is a swag page on our website if you guys want to go on that and grab some shirts. I think I put this Lagers one up there, but I'm not 100% that I did. But yeah, I play around with putting different shirts on the website all the time. That's how you buy them. Brew day in hazmat suits. Yeah. That'd be fun, but I feel like if it's a bit on the nose, like a bit like the things in hazmat suits, I feel I might get demonetized or something like that. Anytime you say Corona in a beer video, it seems to be demonetized these days. Live streams are always great. You two have a lot of knowledge, very entertaining. Just do a live brew day? Also, we can get drunk together. That does sound pretty awesome. That was an idea that I was thinking about too, maybe doing a live brew day. Link to swag is dead. All right, good to know. I'll take a look at that and I'll make sure that it is is fixed later on today. But yeah, for a live brew day, that's definitely something that's possible. The only issue is because of how we live stream. This is pretty much the only area that we can live stream in. So we'd have to find a way to set up a brew day like right behind me, which we could do on the table and get an extension cord and use the mash and boil or the anvil. But then that would only run into an issue when it comes time to like chill, and it might be a little bit messy. The back of the house is really nice because it's got a floor drain. That said, I mean, we probably have time to clean things up, and this floor is super easily cleanable, so that'd be pretty good. Plus one on water profile lesson. Water profile would be a really good thing. We meant to put out a water profile whole video, but that would be a nice thing to kind of talk about on a live stream, because we can, go over like different strategies for different styles and kind of ramble on a lot about, like, let's say you're trying to do, trying to do a light lager or trying to do an IPA or trying to do a dark beer, like why I might pick different water profiles or different things that are not necessarily it's not necessarily what you're going to read in a book. This is how you should, put your salts in. But I do a lot of things like I actually add table salt and NaCl to a lot of beers that you wouldn't really expect, which I think is kind of fun. The table salt is a nice thing where it actually produces body and mouthfeel too, on top of kind of adding a little bit more of a malty touch. So I like it, even though a lot of the right way to water mineralize things usually has a lower sodium content. Percentage, what percentage of black Prinz malt for a Schwarz beer? So for a Schwarz beer, generally speaking, you're going to be looking at maybe 5 to 7%. I think a lot in Echo. I'm gonna not touch that. Hopefully it's gone. Mad Echo just happened. Whoa. I'm wondering, maybe it has to do with the mic or bumping something. Let me know if the echo's, I didn't touch anything, guys, so let me know if the echo's changing at all. Let me know if this button helps. Say, Luke, I am your father. All right, I'm going to give this a second and see if the echo's gone. Hopefully it gets a little bit better. Still there. Yeah, I do not know enough about this to compression. I'm going to turn the compression up. Pan, left, right, peak. I can turn the peak down. We good now? Echo stop, but volume is way down. I can turn the gain up. Let me know if you can hear me now. Now it's too quiet. All right, I'm going to push a button, and let me know after you hear me push this button. Right now. Is that too quiet? And is the Darth Vader back? Let me know. So bored. Better? Did you hear the button? Did the button happen? Did the button help? Does it sound good? Sweet. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Hey, we didn't lose too many viewers during that. We are all so bored. Anyway, what was I talking about? Water profiles. Oh, black Prinz malt. So I do think a lot in pounds, just because I build a lot of recipes for homebrewers, and so I think a lot on 5-gallon batches, what it would be per pound. And so generally speaking, a Schwarz beer is going to be somewhere in the range of 11 pounds if you have a 70% brewhouse efficiency, and 11 pounds is like 5 kilograms, I think. So that's going to be like your total grist weight, and so for that, the amount of black Prinz you would need is somewhere in the 0.75 pound, or let's call that 0.3 kilograms, just kind of doing a little bit of mental guesstimation. I'm glad people are enjoying all the chaos that's happening. After the button, it's great. I'm so good at pushing buttons, guys. But yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about now. Let's see if I can scroll up before the echo. All the links are dead, and then the local HBS. Okay, so yeah, I will. I'm gonna go right after I close down this live stream. I'll go on the website and see if I can get that fixed, and just send me a message or something like that in a couple hours to see if it gets better or not. Some streams are saying lager lurgy or beer bug for what shall not be named, so they don't get demonetized. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, you can't say Arriba Mexican Cerveza style beer name. That was a little bit extra on the Corona, but 15% Black Prince in the batch. Hey, okay, someone did the math for me. Someone wants me to do my version of a graph. I don't do a lot of blended beers or non-hopped beers, but just joining the sound is really, really bad. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm trying to fix the sound, people. I'm hoping to have this a little bit more tested and fixed next week, but I only got this set up like minutes before the live stream, so I'm kind of playing it on the fly. So if you're brand new and joined in and the sound isn't working for you, I apologize. Try again next week. This has been a madhouse. All right, let's go to. I don't have a ton more to say on the style of the week or the shutdown and things. Basically wanted to let you guys know the situation going on here where we might get completely shut down, and wanted to get some ideas. What are we brewing next? The next thing that we're going to be brewing is some Belgian strong ale. We're going to be trying to do a lot of things that are well ageable. That way we don't have, fresh IPAs sitting in the tank right when we want to release them and we're still shut down. So that's the idea there. Yeah, let me know. Let me know if you guys got any more Q&As stuff, and then we'll kind of close it out with. Hopefully, I can get a couple of questions to answer, and then I'll spend a little bit more time setting up for next week's live stream. And then this one I probably won't even publish just because there was so much messing around with sound and everything. So if you saw it live, that's the only time you get to see it. Congratulations. Pubs are shut down in England. Yep. Someone had a coffee lager recently and was surprised at how good it was. What IBU level type of hops and coffee would you recommend? I brewed lager yesterday, and 23 IBUs, Tettnang, and El Dorado. So a lot of times when I do lagers, I focus more on the malt profile than the hops. That said, most of my original coffee lager recipe, the one that I made 4 years ago, has a cluster in it. And I use a very small amount of that cluster, probably in the 18 total IBU range. But basically, I try to aim for a low hop profile, and the hop that I want to go with might have a touch of citrus notes to it. A little bit of that lemon kind of pop can really help, I think, accentuate coffee, and then a little bit of earthiness. But overall, I want that to be a back note. Some spiciness in the hops is good too. So things like Tettnang actually would be the wheelhouse that I would go for. Coffee, I always recommend light coffee, and then I also always recommend the freshest coffee you can get, because if it's older coffee, you start to get that staling, kind of almost bitter note, which gives a disjointed feeling in the beer. A lot of people will still say it tastes good, but in the back of their mind, they're thinking, they taste beer flavor and then they taste, Folgers coffee flavor or something like that. And those two disjointed flavors, I think, don't really make a lot of sense when it comes to, developing a cohesive flavor profile. So I also do whole beans in secondary usually. That also reduces some of the kind of burnt notes or the astringency that you can get off of coffee, but you can do really well with like a nice quality cold brew, and you make that by just doing like really coarse ground and letting it sit in a really concentrated solution overnight. And that actually works really well for infusing. Earphones in the audio are better. All pubs closed here. Advise you to run casks down. Pubs are shut. Entirety of Britain. Local party kegs. Are you able to package and sell kegs to consumers? A few breweries around here are doing that since they can't sell to bars. Yeah, we still can, as far as I know, sell kegs to consumers right now, but if we get completely shut down tomorrow, we will not be able to sell any sort of kegs at all. basically it'll be no person-to-person contact as much as possible. Our parks have been shut down. Our schools obviously have been shut down. Pretty much everything is on lockdown right now. We're not allowed to let our kids go outside and play. Just post it. It's been hilarious, and peeps need to know that you're open and trying to help. All right, I might leave it open. In Brazil, everything is shut down, including my microbrewery. I'm sorry to hear that. Treat that on coffee. I've got chocolate nibs for a porter. Any advice on adding it to secondary? I straight up dry hop it. So if you add the cocoa nibs to secondary as just a dry hop, cold and everything like that, then you get a lot of aroma but not a ton of flavor. If you really want to enhance the flavor, one thing that you can do is you can either throw it in a steamer or in a hot water bath for a short amount of time, and then throw that whole bit into your beer. That puts out a little bit more of that, actually, like you're eating a chocolate bar. But I usually just straight up throw them in secondary. The alcohol reaps a lot of the oils off of there, and it gives you really intense chocolate aroma. Usually I do cocoa nibs both in the boil and in secondary to get that combination of flavor and aroma. But there's other ways to add chocolate too. You can add a little bit of chocolate flavoring if you want that deep flavor, but the nibs have the really nice aroma that you really want. I could sell a kit of the Belgian Strong Ale. We've been trying to put together kits for a while. The biggest thing is we can't find boxes that are less than like $7 a box that would fit everything that we wanted to fit in there. And adding $7 because we can't, afford to buy 10,000 boxes at once kind of seems a little silly. But we'd try. We're going to try to find some cheap boxes and find a way to get it so that we can get that cost down a little bit and not have to overcharge for beer supplies. New brewer here. His extract kit called for 2.5 gallons of water for the boil and then add 2.5 at the end. Can you bump this up to 5 gallons for the whole boil? Yeah, you can boil the whole 5 gallons at a time. What you'd be actually doing is boiling about 6 gallons and trying to boil that down, or maybe even 6.5. I try to finish all my batches at around 5.25 gallons, 5.5 for IPAs. The reason being you're going to get some volume loss with your trub, and if you add a lot of hop material, those hops will absorb a lot of that water. So the total amount of water you should be using is going to be a great deal higher. If it's an all-grain kit, you'll be using about 8 gallons total, but you're probably using, it's probably an extract kit, which means you're going to be using maybe 6.5 gallons total water. But the things you need to focus on if you're doing a full boil, so you're boiling the full 5+ gallons instead of doing the partial boil, number one, your rate of caramelization is going to go down. So you're going to get a slightly lighter beer, which for a lot of styles is actually really good. And then the other thing is going to be the hop utilization will go up. So you'll actually get more off of your hops doing the full boil, especially in the bittering edition. So you got to kind of calculate that in. Maybe just add your hops a little bit later in the boil, if that's the case. And then you also got to find a way you got to make sure you have a chiller. If you have a wort chiller, you can chill that whole thing down really fast, which is really important. When you're doing the 2.5 gallons and adding 2.5 gallons at the end, then the 2.5 gallons that you're adding at the end helps you chill down really fast, which changes things like how the hops are used. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing a full boil unless you've got a good way to chill down the wort at the very end. Home delivery. I wish we could do home delivery of just regular beers. How to do chocolate and brews. I talked about that a little bit. Ran out of biscuit and homebrew store is shut down. Any ideas? Biscuit substitutes. So anything in that aromatic biscuit melanoidin world, kind of you can fudge it a little bit. That or use a heavier percentage of Munich to try to get the same general flavor. A true biscuit malt is really not a proper substitute because it has that like kind of drying toast flavor, which is really nice. But yeah, anything else in that aromatic world, I don't like to do any like home cooking my own malts, but if you tried that, it'd be something like take a Munich malt and cook it for 10 minutes at 350 or something like that. That might get you more biscuity notes, but overall, I would just try to find a substitute if you've got like aromatic or melanoidin or something like that. What about adding lemon wheat tea to wheat at kegging? I'm not sure what lemon wheat is to wheat at kegging. Maybe lemon tea to wheat at kegging. I don't like to add a lot at kegging that's going to not want to be in there unless you did an infusion. So if you went from your fermenter and or from one keg to another keg and you put the lemon in line, just make sure you get a lot of those peel for the oils. Yeah, and honestly, just some zest or peel in secondary for a day is going to be all you need to get like a really nice aroma. I do like lemon in wheat beers, but you can also do a nice way to do kind of almost a shandy effect is I get lemonade concentrate, just a little frozen lemonade concentrate, throw that in the keg, and then you end up with a nice shandy-esque, trying to read everything and talk at the same time. I think I contaminated a batch with a dirty ball valve. Should I trash the fermenter? It's a Fermonster, couple years old, about 15 batches. You can probably get another ball valve. I would take it off of the Fermonster, or you said it's Fermonster, right? Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Fermonster, but I think you could take that whole thing off and then take the ball valve apart if it's a 3-piece. If it's a 1-piece, you just got to try to get some caustic in all the small parts, but I don't think you need to trash the whole fermenter. I'm not sure, is the Fermonster one that can handle hot water? If it can handle high temperature, I'd also just throw boiling water in the whole thing before your next batch. But definitely take that ball valve out and try to give it a good scrub. Are your homebrew supplies flying off the shelves? They are. We've had a really good week for homebrew supplies. Unfortunately, that doesn't make up for the lack of beer we've sold in store, because the tap house sales actually do really well. So yes, but answered, thanks. Perfect. Never Jeffers, have you tried roasting pale malt? Yeah, so somebody who's done a little bit more of that roasting. Read Count Drunculas. I haven't done a ton of actual roasting my own malts. This is why I didn't want to respond to that too much. Your device, I have a wort chiller ready to go, so I am going to give this a shot in an hour. Nice. Feel free to message us on, Justin, feel free to message us on Facebook or Instagram if you've got any questions during the brew day. You can even send us a little video or something. Should coriander and orange go in the boil on a Weiss beer or be added to the fermenter? Coriander and orange traditionally in wit beers, they go in the boil, and they should be boiled for a good amount of time, at least 15 minutes. The orange you can actually get in. You can throw a secondary orange peel in secondary. That really pops that aroma, but that aroma at that point is going to be a little bit strong. You can do the same thing with coriander, but it's just so much more of a subtle flavor that you get a lot more off of it if you throw the coriander in the boil. Question, making a hot pepper raspberry sour today. Whew, that sounds interesting. And wondering when you should add the raspberries. Boil or fermenter. I always add berries to the fermenter, and I always do both a boil and a pasteurize on mine. So what I like to do is I freeze and a pasteurize. So if you have fresh raspberries, then take the time to freeze them first. Or you can just buy frozen raspberries, but then you pasteurize them, and that does a couple things. It extracts a lot of the raspberry flavor out, and then it also crystallizes some of the sugars, so you get more raspberry flavor in the final product. And it makes the coloration so much more intense if you do that freeze and then boil process. But that sounds really good though. I love sours, and I like adding strange flavors to sours, so let me know how it tastes. Ball valve was on the boil kettle. Just wondering if the fermenter being contaminated. Oh, okay. The ball valve was on the boil kettle. That should be fine, depending on if you do unless you do a oh, I see. So if the fermenter is contaminated, no, I would just make sure you do really good practices the next batch. I wouldn't worry about the fermenter being contaminated, especially if you can throw boiling water in it. Yeah, I know it's plastic, and scratches can get in plastic and make them not usable. But at the same time, you know, if it is a style of plastic that can handle boiling water, that'd be my number one. Just try to kill off anything with heat, and then you should be good to go. So don't throw it away. Oh, you don't think it can handle hot liquid? I'm reading too slow. Ooh. Your best bet is a halogen sanitizer then. I usually recommend Star San for everything, but Star San's not a halogen, so you'd want to use like iodine or even chlorine. Iodine's less flavor. So maybe just soak the whole thing in concentrated halogen and then see after that. That should be fine. And run it through all the soft parts. And take off all the soft parts that you can on the fermenter and soak those in caustic first and then a halogen sanitizer. But then after that, go back to Star San because that's my favorite for everyday normal use. Star San just doesn't kill all the things that a halogen does. So that'd be iodophor or iostar. Peel to the fermenter, always been horrible. Turned chocolate orange porter into 40 pints of bubble bath. Ooh. As long as you wash the citrus though. Citrus should be relatively sanitary, and so give it a good rinse. I have a food safe spray that I use on all my citrus. So oranges, what I've done is I've washed them all, and then I've just, you know, made sure my hands are nice and clean and sanitized, and a knife, and I take one big peel on the whole thing, like a spiral peel, and then I'll express the oils real quick and then toss that in. It doesn't have to be in for too long though, only a day, and that probably helps that timeline, just going from the peel into a keg and then getting it cold so nothing else can grow in there.
Would love to do something with jasmine flowers. Any experience with these? Was thinking about either a pale or a whipped. I have no experience with jasmine flowers, but that sounds really good. Typically, what I do with things like flowers is I'll use some sort of a tea, and either add the tea to secondary, or I'll do the whole thing in the whirlpool. And then if you want to find the level of concentration you actually make small batches of tea. We actually did a video a while ago with a guy named Thomas Croskery, who was one of the brewers and owners at Bellwether Brewing Company. They do a lot of like braggots and groots and stuff like that. So he's pretty well versed with adding teas and strange herbs to beer. But yeah, generally speaking, if you make a tea beforehand just with hot water, you can get a really good sense of the flavor that you're going to be adding. And I like to add all mine at whirlpool just to try to get a good balance of flavor and aroma. And a lot of flowers can get extra bitter if you boil them for too long, so I usually don't add them too far in. I don't like to have them sitting in hot water for too long.
Added a teaspoon of amylase enzyme to a sweet stout that was stuck fermenting. Picked back up and still going slow after 2 weeks. Safe to add more enzyme? I'd be careful with the enzyme, but if you wanted to rouse the fermenter, you could stick like a CO2 tube down and try to rouse up some yeast. Maybe throw a little bit of yeast energizer in at the same time. But too much enzyme can actually start getting it has like a proteiny flavor. So if you already added some enzyme, generally speaking, you don't have to add a ton more. It's just about keeping that yeast in suspension. If it's a highly flocculent yeast, it might just be trying to be sleepy on you, and you got to rile it back up. You brew some strong ales that need babying and lots of aging because business is slow. That's actually our strategy. We will be brewing a lot of strong, big beers in the next week or so, and just sitting on them. Strong iodophore soak, nice. Audio echo all of a sudden. Dang it! For a super sanitize, have a look for Charlie Talley's DIY no rinse sanitizer. It's actually bleach and it kills anthrax spores. Just don't add vinegar and bleach together. They go in the water. Yeah. So bleach, chlorine is the main component for sanitizing, and that's another halogen. So good advice. So chlorine and iodine are the two halogens that you'd be using for that. All right. It seems like things are kind of slowing down, and it's getting almost time for me to get the shop opened up. So if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks everybody for tuning in and watching and dealing with all the audio issues that we had. Hopefully, at least for the most of it, it was sounding semi-passable. I'll give a look at this when it's all said and done and get things hopefully fixed for next week and kind of find out where things were going wrong. But also, I will be trying to get that website fixed and get our swag and merchandise all up there and make sure they're on the page. I'll be doing that in the next hour. So if you want to take a look at our website, give me an hour or so and then let me know if it's working. If it's not working in an hour, or probably maybe give me like 2 hours. And if it's not working, give me a message and say, hey, you didn't do something right. Vodka soaked. Oh yeah, you can also do a tincture with the nibs. Good idea. Yeah, that's a good advice on the nibs. Yeah, split it between a tincture, that's the soaking in vodka, and the rest of it boiled. That's a good split. So anyways, thanks for everybody. We're going to close this thing out. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Like I said before, every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I have no idea what time that is for some of you, but yeah. And no, unfortunately, we don't have a Patreon, I don't think. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week. And stream.